I think for a lot of young people, the motivator is money.
Mm-hmm.
And I reckon at the time, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. But my dad was looking at a bill from an electrician going, I've just had my I've just had my shed wired up.
You need to be one of these guys.
I've just had my shed wired up, and wow, do they charge a lot of money. And, you know, there was light bulbs flashing for me going, a lot of money. You know, you can leave school and do this, get on the job training.
Yeah.
This sounds like something I want to look into.
Welcome to Building Perspective, the Master Builders SA podcast. I'm your host, Will Frogley. Join me as I speak with some characters in the building construction industry.
With a house frame made from true core steel, your home is built to last. Choose the inner strength of true core steel.
From apprentice Sparky to CEO, it's a fantastic journey and it's within reach of anyone who's born to build and has passion for the industry. Matt Wilkins, Venergy CEO, great to have you on the podcast.
Thanks, Will. What a great introduction. And absolutely, I can be a example for other apprentices out there. Yeah, would love to share my story.
That's great because with the Master Builders Born to Build program, it's all about showcasing visible role models. Kids don't want to be told, little Johnny, you're not doing very well in school, maybe you should start a trade. They want to look at someone and be like, man, I want to be like this person.
Were you talking to my teachers at school? I think that's exactly what they were saying to me, actually. So, yeah, if any of them are watching out there, I did do the trade and now sort of moving beyond that.
So let's go right back to the start. Did you always want to work in the building construction industry? Where did you get your inspiration from, or was it just you had it within yourself?
Well, it was a few things all happening at a certain period in my life, around 16 years old, and school wasn't really for me. I didn't really fit into the normal sort of constraints and conformity of school, and I was starting to get that itch that this isn't for me and I need to find something else. And I think for a lot of young people, the motivator is money.
Mm-hmm.
And I reckon at the time, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. But my dad was looking at a bill from an electrician going, I've just had my shed wired up.
You need to be one of these guys.
I've just had my shed wired up, and wow, do they charge a lot of money. And, you know, there was light bulbs flashing for me going, a lot of money. You know, you can leave school and do this, get on the job training.
Yeah. This
sounds like something I want to look into.
Light bulbs flashing, good analogy.
Well, pardon the pun. So, yeah, went back to school, went to the careers sort of office, and if I'm honest, not very helpful at all. Had to sort of navigate that whole process on my own.
Yeah, that needed to change, didn't it?
Yeah, I still think that a lot more can be done there to help that transition for school leavers into trades. When I did work experience with a country electrician, really enjoyed it. We had a great relationship and took me on, and that was great. I did 2 years up in the Murraylands doing electrical work, which was really great. Taught me a lot of things about being resourceful, you know, doing well by your client. If you don't do a great job, you can't go to the local IGA and, you know, do your shop. Exactly. So I'm very thankful for that part of my apprenticeship. Moved to Adelaide and, you know, started seeing what the big wide world was about, and, you know, started to really hone in on a subspecialty, which was solar, which I can thank my dad for again. You know, when I was sort of working this out and working out my journey, yeah, he said, you know, you can look at fossil fuels. I have an uncle that was doing quite well for himself in Western Australia, and I thought, that's the way I want to go. He said, mate, you got to look to the future, renewables, and I think, again, at the time, he was getting solar put on and, you know, so I thank my dad for, you know, always giving me great sound advice. And
because how old are you now, Matt?
33.
33. Still a young bloke.
Yeah.
Yep.
And over the journey, my values have changed. So not everything's about money anymore. So I'm happy about that. You know, obviously doing renewable energy, it's great for the environment. It's great for some of these families that are struggling as well. It's a great investment. And yeah, now we're operating in South Australia as our head office. We're committed to building a big office here in South Australia and operate in Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland.
That's fantastic. And how many people are you employing these days?
We're around that 40 40 people, and then, externally probably 100 contractors in the eastern states.
It's fantastic. And have you seen the industry evolve from when you started out to where it's at today?
Well,
for better and for worse.
Yeah, well, the solar industry's it's up and it's down. It's very volatile.
Very dependent on government support, is it? Yeah.
It has been. And I'm hoping that, in the future we can break away from that and stand alone. But it's been plagued with dodgy operators, and the barrier to entry is very low. So we see a lot of people entering the market, trying to fight for market share, not coming from a trade background, so they don't really appreciate and understand the idea of doing a quality job, and it's there to stand a test of time type, thinking, and they're in for a quick buck. They come in, they go, and they leave what we call orphan systems, which has become a big part of our business now, which is supporting these customers that have bought from other companies, other interstate companies, have no ongoing support and, warranty and someone to turn to when they might need some help.
I want to ask you another question now. So the labour shortages in our industry are well known. How are you finding being able to recruit at the moment?
It's a challenge. It really is a challenge. These electricians that we employ have another ticket on top of that again, which is a Clean Energy Council certification, which is, I think, changing very shortly. So it's people and culture is a big part of our business now. It never was 10 years ago. It was always...
You have to, don't you?
You looked after your staff and you wanted to do...
1% is besides pay.
Yeah. You got to start, really understanding the primary needs of your employees and their goals and what they're trying to achieve in life. And if you can align, what they're doing day to day with that, then you're a little bit ahead of everyone else. Mm-hmm. But it's constant work, and looking after your staff is at the forefront of everything we do.
Apprentice retention. I want to discuss that because I think it's a travesty that 1 in 2 South Australians roughly that starts a construction trade apprenticeship doesn't complete it. Now, we're in a massive skill shortage. Projected, we think we need an extra 15,000 tradies by 2027 just to meet demand. A significant chunk of those are sparkies, unsurprisingly. Why do you think the dropout rate is so high, and how can we fix it?
I look back to when I was an apprentice, and I reckon I had my moments of, I've had enough of this. I'm not earning enough money. I'm not, you're working your way through the hierarchy of employment. And it's a challenge. And I really think that, apprentices probably are transitioning through that period of being the lowest sort of tier in the hierarchy within organisations, and they need to start being seen as skilled workers as well.
Yeah.
And I think, that respect, the wage that can come with that, being given the right opportunities to learn, which will engage them. And if they're engaged and they can see a future, then I think that will help in some respects with the retention. A lot of people in the past have probably seen apprentices as cheap labour. Mm. And when a school leaver may look at, well, here's an apprenticeship, I'm only going to get X amount of dollars, and then and here's option B, which is more money straight out of the gate. They're probably straight into feeling like they're amongst similar levels within that organisation, and they can see a future. Then even I would look at that and say, well, option B looks a bit better. Mm. We really got to start making the apprenticeship attractive again.
Yeah,
we really need to show that it's a pathway into many different areas, myself included. I'm really fortunate that by doing my electrical apprenticeship, then really sinking my teeth into something that I enjoyed, has made it possible for me to travel all over the world, doing solar, doing remote.
Some of the places you've been, like you go to China a lot and all kinds of places, don't you?
Yeah. So I've done a lot through Micronesia with, different remote islands.
Do you go to like the Caroline Islands and places like that in Micronesia? You go there, do you?
Yeah, I have done. Yeah. So I've gone
places get a lot of sun around there. Don't they?
Yeah. Well, it's very, It's on it's the outskirts of Australia.
Yeah.
And so if you look at, Fiji,
Yeah.
you got Kiribati.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you've been to
Palau.
Kiribati, have you?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So gone through and had a look
Yeah.
at all these, these projects that
Amazing.
are getting developed and trying to improve their communities.
Did you ever think when you were starting your apprenticeship on the first day that you might end up in Kiribati or places like that?
No.
I don't think anyone thinks they end up in a place like that, as remote as that, do they?
No.
That's a seriously remote, remote place.
Yeah. So
it?
I've had, even last year was taken to Germany to go look at what the emerging technology is. That was fully funded by one of our manufacturer partners. Yeah, gone to China, Shanghai, to basically the world's biggest energy convention. Again, that was funded. Yeah, it's pretty amazing, I guess. Looking back on it now, it does sort of seem like a normal day at the office. Sometimes you've got to go travel and look at these emerging technologies and see how we can apply and bring them back to Australia. But even through Australia, the amount of traveling that I've done, it's a trade can take you anywhere.
That's right. I think an obvious reason why the dropout rate is so high is, particularly in this current economic environment, any kid really can get a job pouring beers at the pub next week, earning more money. So it's getting them to see, if you stick with the trade, where it can actually take you, how much money you can actually earn, how much you'll be in demand for years and years to come. The other thing I think is, I think the group training model works really well now more than ever, because, like it or not, young people these days do need a bit more of an arm around them. And I think the GTO model provides that with the field officers and the flexibility. If they're not particularly enjoying working for one employer, they can be matched with another employer straight away. And I think that can mean they stick with the apprenticeship rather than just quitting the industry altogether.
Yeah, you're right. Offers that support to the apprentice that they might not be getting it at the business, but it might also get them exposure to other areas of the trade which they might find a more liking to.
Spot on.
So that's we're in solar. We specialize in solar, energy storage, commercial solar, ground mount solar. I mean, we do the broad spectrum of solar, but that's one subspecialty of the electrical trade. You talk to others who do air conditioning, others that might do automation, for example. But it's not, every subspecialty is not for everyone. And I think that the days of your electrician who does a bit of everything is not always going to be there. So that exposure, if you can have multiple employers that can give these apprentices an opportunity, then I think it's
a broader apprenticeship, isn't it?
And it comes back to that engagement piece that we were talking about. So if we can keep them engaged, you've got a far more better chance of keeping these young apprentices within the trade.
Yeah, spot on. I mean, we also find, for example, kids really dislike working in the commercial sector but love working in residential buildings,
and
vice versa. So it can be just little experiences like that can totally change their perspective of an apprenticeship in the industry.
Or someone you don't get along with, or a certain geographical area you're working in.
Yeah.
There's actually lots of barriers that sometimes can put people off apprenticeships.
Spot on. There's definitely more that can be done to around retention as well. Things like incentives, talk. Money does talk. We were very pleased that Master Builders was able to get free driving lessons in for apprentices, because we had to turn away hundreds of apprentices every year because they didn't have a driving license. And if you're talking about a kid who comes from a less affluent background, the construction industry is a pathway to earning good money. But if they can't get their foot in the door with an apprenticeship because they can't afford to get their driver's license, etc., they're missing out. So stuff like that. Also cash bonuses, tool allowances,
everything.
All those type of things need to be on the table, because it is so competitive out there, and we can't afford that leaky bucket, not with our labour demands.
And it's a big deficit to fill, right?
It's huge.
So
aging trade base in South Australia as well. So we've got attrition that way as well. So we've got to retain them. We've got to attracting them's only part of the piece of the puzzle. You've got to retain them, complete them, get them out there working in the industry, and then stay in the industry when they're actually out there working too.
Yeah, that's it. And I think as well, this might be not the right use of words, but making the trade sexy again.
Yeah.
It's been for a long period. It was go to uni, go get a degree,
Spot on.
go do a clean job, go do. So a lot of people, it's just not even on their radar to be looking at doing a trade. And that could be in multiple different disciplines, not just electrical. But we obviously doing a lot of great work with Born to Build, which is about, from what I can see, it's not just showing that there's opportunities out there. It's showing that the broader opportunity beyond doing a trade. And if I come back to my story again, becoming a tradesperson has then opened up the door to multiple different
That's right.
areas.
Trade, it's
developing.
just the start. It's just the start, right?
Yeah. Developing houses. That's something that you see a lot of people that have a degree. So I want to do that. Wish I could do that. Well, it's quite easy once you're in the trade because your contact list starts to become quite big. And so very easy to then move into other areas which can then increase the income generation of these tradespeople as well.
Born to Build is so badly needed for the industry. It was very obvious to me that the way we were promoting apprenticeships to kids was woefully inadequate. It wasn't sexy at all. It was seen as a second option. If your better option wasn't working out,
it was always a fallback. It was
terrible. Yeah,
it was always, you can always rely on your trade. You can fall back on it.
Yeah,
but it needs to become the primary opportunity.
That's right. And so Born to Build has really shaken that up, which needed to happen. And again, it's really tapping into, I think kids are visual creatures. They like positive role models. They don't want to be told something. They want to see someone and be like, I want to be like this person. The other thing that Born to Build's doing, which was badly untapped, was trying to reach kids in areas where we know we can find good trades. So the Adelaide Footy League. So Born to Build's got a 3-year partnership with the Adelaide Footy League now. The 36ers, Derrimut gyms, all the places we think we're going to find.
We got to fish where the fish are, right?
Exactly. Or hunt where the ducks are is how I say it. But all these places where we're going to find fit young guys and girls who like to be rewarded for hard work, that's where we've got to be.
And we see it ourselves. A lot of apprentices that come through who are within a football community, they usually excel at a trade.
Yeah.
Others who don't come from that background or might not have that exposure to that sort of grassroots community sort of setting don't do so well sometimes. And so we've got to work a lot harder with those apprentices and try and support them a lot more. So I think Born to Build, if you're out there with those partnerships, as you said, you're hunting where the ducks are, right?
That's spot on. So, I'm thinking of a typical member that we've got that might need an apprentice, and they'd call up the GTO and they might say, okay, I need a new brickie, or I need a brickie or a carpenter or whatever. What have you got at the moment? I think the ideal situation for them is we could say, oh, look, we've just got a young bloke down from, Kadina who's playing footy out at Glenelg, and he wants an apprenticeship to work in the construction industry. I think most of our employers would be like, bang, get him. You don't want to see him? No, he sounds good. Get him.
Send him down. Yeah.
So there's no doubt that, the work ethic you'd get from people who play competitive sport plays well for apprenticeships, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
So let's be honest, our industry doesn't suit everyone, but I think it does suit people who like to be rewarded for hard work.
Yes, traditionally, but we now got to start looking to the future.
Yeah.
We can't keep looking at an old model where there's only so many country boys out there, right? So
unfortunately, that's true. Yeah.
So we also need to look at how we're motivating and incentivizing other apprentices who might not have fathers who have been on the farm and been brought up with the value of hard work and doing a good day's job. We need to look at these other apprentices as well and look at how we can bring them up and get them to adapt, but also the trade needs to adapt to who the upcoming generation is. So I see a lot of older employers, I should say, that have been in some ways a little bit stuck in their ways and almost banging their head against the wall, saying we're going through so many apprentices.
The resilience isn't there is one you hear a lot. How do you bridge that gap? How do you get I guess, the older generation to adapt to the younger generation, but then also the younger generation to come to work knowing that they do need a bit of resilience. It's not going to be all easy. How do you go about that, do you reckon?
Well, it's about a mentor, and whether that's a mentor on site, whether it's a mentor in the office. Some of these apprentices potentially don't have a father figure at home, so that's a big one as well.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to partner them up with someone who can guide them and show them through what the expectations are of being an apprentice, being an employee, that's a big thing as well. Some of these apprentices actually haven't been an employee. This is their first job.
That's right.
They don't sometimes know right from wrong, but you have an employer who might be under some pressure, might have a full log of work in front of them, and they don't have the time to sit there and work through and bring these apprentices up. We say the first year of our apprentices is just teaching them how to be an employee. Then it's about
how to rock up on time, all the basics, right?
Being reliable.
Yeah.
Helping your fellow colleague out, helping your tradesman out, and providing value. That's what sometimes is forgotten, is there's actually an exchange of value here.
Yeah.
There's an exchange from the apprentice's point of view, and the employer needs to exchange that value as well.
That's right.
It takes two to tango.
Someone watching this might be a young kid themselves who doesn't have that, I guess, mentor or someone who can provide them advice, or could be a school or a club or whatever it might be that wants to help out some of the young guys and girls coming through. They don't really know who to speak to, and that's why I'd highly encourage them to call Master Builders. We've got two great field officers with the Born to Build program who are tradies themselves, who get it and can really advise them about various trade options in the career, what's required to be successful, what a typical day looks like. I've got Amanda Hewer, who's a fantastic Sparky, whose main brief really there is to encourage more women into the industry. If we're going to fill these trade gaps, we need a lot more lady tradies out there. And then also Chris Blows, who's a carpenter by trade, did his apprenticeship through Master Builders, has an amazing life story. And these are the kinds of people you can tap into to find out more about the trades and provide that advice that might be lacking for a lot of people.
Absolutely. Whatever you can do, Will, to encourage them to be knocking on your door as well.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need those school leavers to be looking for the opportunities as well. So if they can be guided and, shown the different opportunities, then I think, that's a great first start, right? And then we've got to keep them in the trade.
That's right. That's right.
Born to Build, really loving everything you're doing there.
Thanks.
And I think it's creating a lot of value within the construction industry, because it's a big problem and not a lot of people actually know about it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And when you hear some of these numbers, I've seen the reports that come out.
Yeah.
Beyond scary, it's it's gonna. You think there's a skills shortage now, people?
It's going to get worse.
It's going to get so much worse.
Definitely.
It's going to get very, very challenging for a lot of people. No one will be immune from it.
And why is this such an important issue? It's because without enough people in the industry, construction work takes longer, it's more expensive, and quality can suffer. So
it's the backbone of the economy, right?
That's right. That's right. And that Born to Build's a massive passion of mine for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's the industry is crying out for more trades. And then number two, I guess from a more personal level, is the apprentice program that Master Builders runs is so rewarding, because you get to see the journey from the first day as an apprentice, where they're probably a bit awkward, nervous, etc. You can see them grow, find their sense of purpose, get into a good trade, a good career where they can provide for themselves and their families, and who knows, they could become CEO like yourself one day. So I find that very rewarding to see that progression, because you're making a real big difference on someone's life.
That's probably one of the most rewarding things that I get to do as an employer, is watching our apprentices from start to finish. And we've had quite a few now. We have the old ones, just like everyone else, that don't make it, or they need to transition for whatever reason. But we make it a real celebration. There's a party.
That's awesome.
There's they get a nice plaque that they get to take home, and I think there's a lot of people aren't celebrating it. It's a real milestone.
It is, absolutely.
To stick it out.
Yeah.
And so
we make a massive deal of finishing high school. It's the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, we want to celebrate that win for the apprentices, and we're lucky as well that our retention rate of apprentices turning into tradespeople at our business is quite high, and I think that comes from that development through first year all the way to fourth, and then I say it's the fifth year of apprenticeship. That first year is where you really learn. You really get thrown into the deep end. You've really got to apply everything you've learnt over the years, and you're sort of on your own a little bit, and you get to make the decisions. That's where it all comes together, I believe, in that fifth year.
I think also the fact that they've got an ex-apprentice themselves in the chair would be a bit of inspiration for them, I would have thought, mate.
Yeah, I do think that's especially in our industry, obviously being in solar, it is quite rare to have an owner-operator who is an electrician. I can quite easily take the suit off and put the high vis on. I can go onto site, can understand the challenges they're on, and I can also talk to them at their level and understand what they're going through. And you get the time where those apprentices are sort of kicking the can and down in the dumps a little bit, and I say, hey, mate, I've been there.
Yeah, that's great.
I've been there. I know what it's like. You'll get through it. How can we help you? And give them that support. And I think it does give us that edge, especially in our industry, where I've said to you before, solar, there's a low barrier to entry. You could be a marketing person, ex-accountant, all of a sudden see a high growth industry and think there's some money to be made here.
Yeah.
They get electricians and apprentices, and they throw them in vans, and then wonder why they don't perform. They wonder why they're not productive. They making mistakes. Well, there's no support there for them. So
it's with what you do and the GTO model, looking after them, providing that extra level of support that flows through to completion rates. No doubt about it, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. Other advice I'd definitely give to any young apprentice who might be listening to this podcast is make sure that you contact the employer yourself. Don't make your mum do it, because I'm still staggered at the number of times we have mums call up and ask if we've got any jobs for kids, and it's like, well, that's not a good sign. You need to make that call yourself. Get down there in person, and if you do that, you'll be able to get going very quickly. I would have thought in the current environment, we are always hiring at MBA.
Yeah.
Always hiring. Sometimes we have 20, 30 vacancies at one point, such is the demand. So it is a great time to get into the industry. The trade shortages are bad for a lot of people, but if you're a young person wanting to get a start, no better time.
You're right. And Born to Build is bridging that gap with these school leavers, I guess, making them feel confident about applying for apprenticeships or whatever. I won't let mum call up. That extends to calling in sick too, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's going to just help two, willing parties meet and set them up for success.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, it's been great talking to you today about an issue I know is very close to your heart. It's an amazing story, and hopefully serves as inspiration for a lot more people in the industry, because boy, do we need them. We need a massive wave coming through. Let's get going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Thanks, Matt. Cheers.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks for joining me on Building Perspective. For more information on Master Builders or our guests, please visit our website at mbasa.com.au.